Last week, Sunday, we were still absorbed in the festival of the Holy Name. Although last week, Sunday, was the Disappearance Day of Bhaktivinodha Thakur. So instead, we did something else. We followed the festival of the Holy Name theme, chanting Kevala Astakam and discussing the Holy Name. But I'm feeling separation from speaking something about Bhaktivinodha Thakur. I think it's beneficial for everyone to hear again and again. So you see the dates. On the left side is his appearance, on the right side his disappearance, the years in which he lived. Makes it around 350, more or less, years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's departure. And immediately following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it was a wonderful time. The explosion of bhakti along the lines of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was abundant, and many, many books, and the 6 Goswamis, like on our altar, every ISKCON altar, 6 Goswamis carried forward. The youngest of them, he became the next in line, and he trained 3 great personalities who continued the line, and so for several hundred years, for a couple of hundred years, it was expanding. And then, as happens with time has a way of eroding things. The prominence of the acharyas and the teachings, propounding the teachings generation from generation, had subsided significantly. And along came Bhaktivinodha Thakur. And he came at a time when there was, the teachings had been distorted or just forgotten. Without too many details, it's in his biography. There were apa sampradayas or deviated sampradayas. They each had names, 13. He wrote a book, one of his 100 books. And you want to write a book, think of Bhaktivinodha Thakur. He wrote 100 books. One of them was on the 13 Ati Sampradayas, deviated teachings, and groups of people following deviated teachings that were doing not very nice things, at least according to the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he confronted that, and he restored the vitality of Krishna Bhakti, and specifically in the line of Lord Chaitanya. So sometimes, in fact, one of his biographies is titled The 7th Goswami, following the 6 Goswamis, number 7, a few hundred years later, because of his prominence in his prolific writing, much like the Goswamis did. So I'm going to touch on some points, and if you are interested, you can read more details in his biography. This is a photograph of deities that he worshipped. Srila Prabhupada gave us the deity of Gaur-Nitai for our worship. He worshipped Gaur Gadadhar. So you know from the Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, then going the other direction, Gadadhar and Srivas. So this type of worship had something to do with the type of bhakti that he was personally absorbed in. Gaur-Nitai worship was a type of bhakti that Srila Prabhupada had his followers absorbed in, and that was the mission of spreading the word of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he gave the service to Nityananda to take the chanting and distribute it to everyone. So Gaur-Nitai, the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Gadadhar, Gaur Gadadhar, leans in the direction of Rasika Bhakti, relishing the mellows of devotional service. Now, Bhaktivinodha Thakur was also very much engaged in expanding and expanding and expanding in very wonderful ways. And we'll hear some of those very wonderful ways. But his personal deity was these Gaur Gadadhar deities. Rather than giving the whole biography, at a certain point in his life, he became an appointed government officer. This is how he went to do his office work. He was a high court judge. And he was innovative in how he dealt with what he dealt with. By the way, some of you have children. Bhaktivinodha Thakur had 10 children. And he was a high court judge. And he wrote 100 books. And he revived Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. And one of the ways he did it was he was very meticulous about use of time, the time management topic. So notice what's in his lapel. You see that chain? Much ahead of his time, he was known to carry with him all the time. Not a wristwatch, but a pocket watch. And down to the minute, he measured his time very, very carefully. Because when you're busy, people have to be very conscientious about time, and he was. He used it very well. Just to give you some idea of some of the traits. He described one time when he was a little boy, he was told by an elder village man that there was a forest and there's a particular grove of trees in that forest, and there was ghosts in that forest, so you better watch out. So he was asking, what do the ghosts look like? And, he was a curious young man. And then when he heard the appearance of ghosts, subtle bodies, but they have forms, he became frightened. And the person this is in his biography, and the person that was describing it to him said, don't worry, you just chant the name, Rama, again and again, and the ghost won't bother you. And just hearing that, his fear went away. And so he experimented. He went into that forest where there were ghosts in the tree area, and he chanted Ram very loudly, again and again and again. And he felt protected. He didn't see any ghosts either. Later, when he became an adult and was living as the chief magistrate in Jagannath Puri, he came to hear about a fellow named Bhishika Sen. Now, this isn't an actual photograph of Bhishika Sen, but it's Bhishika Sen. And he was a mystic and a great austere person. And he had mystic powers. And he had followers. Mystical people that have mystic powers have followers. And he was known to undergo extended austerities to get those powers. And one of the things that he did that was a disturbance, now he's not a police officer, he's a high court judge. But it was brought to his attention, not as a police officer, but a high court judge, that Bhishika Sen is messing with our women. He lives outside of Puri, and he invites ladies to come to his ashram, and they're enchanted and charmed, and he pollutes them. So something needs to be done. So I don't know exactly the relationship, how it worked then, but he asked some police officers to do the needful. And they were afraid because this guy is really powerful. And who knows what might happen. So they didn't go. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur personally went. He was saying, among other things, he was saying that he had Vishnu. He was Vishnu. And he had 2 assistants. And the 2 assistants were his henchmen that brought ladies so he could pollute the ladies. So when he confronted Bhishika Sen, he at first, he just, everyone's entitled to fair trial. He just said, I heard these reports. What would you like to say about it? Open-ended question. And Bhishika Sen, one of his mystic powers was he had long hair, and when he shook his head back and forth like this, fire would come out of his hair. So the police officers that accompanied him, they backed off. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was fearless. He grabbed him by the arm and said, you come with me. Uh-oh. You come with me. And then Bhishika Sen said, it's my Leela, I'll come with you. So he accompanied him to the jail. And he was put in jail awaiting trial, a formal trial with witnesses that what he had done, and he had his chance to say his part. So he started a fast while in jail. It wasn't Mahatma Gandhi either. It was Bhishika Sen. And he made a curse that the family of Bhaktivinoda Thakur would die because he had offended Mahavishnu. And the mother of the 10 children informed her husband, Bhaktivinoda, that your daughter has fever. This man is powerful. Don't mess with this powerful man. Just let him go. Bhaktivinoda refused to let him go. His daughter became well. And then when the trial came, he was brought into the trial and he did his hair shaking thing in the fire and everyone stepped back. But when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was writing the sentence, conviction sentence, he also contracted a fever and his hand was shaking as he was writing, but he was fearless. It doesn't mean nothing happened, but nothing happened. And he performed the ceremony, 21 days of fasting, wow. And they carried him out of the jail, out of the courtroom, and on his way out of the courtroom, he told one of the guards to cut his hair. Because it is said that yogis will sometimes conserve their power in their hair. So when they cut his hair, he fell to the ground, fainted, and a few days later he died in jail. The end of Bhishika Sen. But the reason for narrating this is the range of what he did was amazing, and he was fearless, representative of the Supreme Lord, and here's this fellow saying things and doing things that are punishable by law. And so he brought justice as the High Court judge in Jagannath Puri. Similarly, one of the services that as the High Court judge in Puri, he was given the responsibility to oversee the worship of the deity of Jagannath. How'd you like that service? Where's Premananda? The entire worship of Jagannath Puri. So the procedure was that prior to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, the 52 offerings a day procedure had diminished. The procedure was as soon as one offering was taken, another offering was brought. And that stayed for some time, and then the offering was completed, the offering was taken away, the next offering was brought. 52 times of the day, in arti and everything. But it had diminished. So he restored the standard. be a temple president for a day and see what happens when you try to, the standards start to sag and you try to restore the standards. He's not the president, he's the high court judge. And as he went through this procedure, he found that some money was being misappropriated from the Jagannath temple by the king. And he had a little hearing about it, and the fine for the king was to replace the money that he had embezzled, or misappropriated, but embezzled, by sponsoring the prasadam. It's like, your fine is you sponsor the Sunday feast. That's an honor to sponsor the Sunday feast. So he was honoring the king 52 times a day until the debt was cleared. The king was insulted. So what did the king do? The king got in a get-back mentality. For 30 days, he hired Brahmins to do a particular yajna that at the end, 50 pundits, at the end of the 30 days, Thakur was to die. The wife, Bhagavati was his wife's name. Bhagavati informed him, did you know what the king is doing? Drop the penalty and, let him free. And he refused. And so what happens when something like this is started, but it can't go forward because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was protected? On the 30th day, his own son died. It came back to the king in the form of exactly when the 30th day was over, his own son died. I didn't say of what he died of. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very powerful and virtuous and fearless. One of the things that he did when he was the High Court judge in Jagannath Puri is he formed a little group. He didn't call it ISKCON. He called it the Bhagavata Samsat. It was just a group of persons that he would bring together in the Jagannath Ballabh Gardens. The Jagannath Ballabh Gardens is a place where Ramananda Roy would stay. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present in Puri, that's where he would stay. So it's a very, very beautiful place. Very simple, very beautiful place. So he went there and sat under a tree and conducted classes on Srimad Bhagavatam as the High Court judge. But there was a Babaji who started speaking badly against Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't know about this till later, but he said, don't go hear his classes. And the reason he gave why he shouldn't go hear his classes is he doesn't wear tilak and he doesn't have kuntimala. So he's not a Vaishnava and he's speaking on the Bhagavatam. Don't go hear his classes. And he's a celebrated person, so people listened to him. Some people listened to him. And then he contracted a very severe disease and was about to die. In his dream, Raghunath Das Goswami, Jagannath appeared in his dream in Puri and instructed him to go to Kedarnath Datta and beg forgiveness for him. And if he gives you his mercy, you'll be released from certain death, otherwise you will die shortly. His dream broke. And Raghunath Das Babaji went to Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Kedarnath Datta, because he wasn't initiated at that time, and told him about his dream, told him about how he spoke against him. And Kedarnath, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was very surprised. He didn't know that he was speaking like that. He didn't know why he was speaking like that. So he asked him, why are you speaking like that? Because you don't wear tilak, you don't wear have neck beads, and you're not a Vaishnava. So how can you speak on the Bhagavatam? And then Bhaktivinodha Thakur gave a very simple explanation. He said, anyone can speak about Srimad Bhagavatam. It doesn't require Diksha. But for myself, I've searched high and low, and each time I've searched for a guru, I could not find one. I found persons who came to understand they were not qualified, and so I have not found my guru yet. So apparently at that time, in ISKCON, we wear tilak and neck beads. They sell them in the gift shop. Help yourself. Before initiated. But at Bhaktivinodha Thakur's time, one didn't wear tilak, because at the time of initiation, there's pancha sanskara, or 5 procedures. One of them is the tilak, another is the neck beads, and there's 3 others at the time of Diksha. So I haven't found my guru yet, so I'm not wearing tilak and kuntimala. But you please pray for me that I may find my spiritual master. And Raghunath Das, again, profusely apologized. I spoke to you in an unknowing manner. I made a big offense. And in course of time, they became very dear friends. In fact, in course of time, they collaborated with one another in writing literature in glorification of messages from Srimad Bhagavatam. They're both very qualified. So you can see Babaji and Babaji and Babaji, and here's another Babaji that's mentioned in his biography. His name is Srupdas Babaji. And he was with a number of others who would regularly go periodically on Ekadasis at least, and to a place where it was the Bhajan Kutir of Sanatan Goswami, which is very near to the Tota Gopinath temple, not far from the Jagannath temple. And they would go there and have Sankirtan in honor of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his mission. So one point is, it's not that Sankirtan or Chaitanya's mission had died, it just had diminished in its prominence in the world during the time of Bhaktivinodha Thakur. So he revived it to prominence in the world, just like this Srupdas Babaji and other Babajis that were living in Puri at the time. So Bhaktivinodha Thakur found them and found they were genuine devotees, and so he went and joined their Sankirtan. As a celebrated saying, very similar to other teachings in Bengali, Krishna Nama Bulibe Na. Never forget the name of Krishna, which means always remember. Smartavya Satatam Vishnor Vismartavya Nujatu Chit. That's one used to hearing in ISKCON. Sarva Vidhi Niseda Shur Eva Yor Eva Kinkara. All other teachings are kinkaras, or servants of this one. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So his specific was always remember the holy name, never forget the holy name. That those were persons who Bhaktivinodha Thakur liked to keep the association of, in addition to speaking the Bhagavatam and everything else that he did. Here's some nice photographs. During his time, photography was just becoming a thing. And so he would pose in different dapper outfits, very nicely dressed and stately, and pretty fancy hat. But his life was, of course, along with everything else, was his children. And one of the children is pictured in this photograph, who's Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So one of his 10 children was a pure devotee and continued very, very, very successfully the mission of Bhaktivinodha Thakur. Because the mission of Bhaktivinodha Thakur, we'll see shortly, one of the 100 books that he wrote was towards the final, like 20 years before he left this world. He was in Calcutta, and he wanted the educated people of the world, at least, to know who was Lord Chaitanya. So his revival spirit was not just within India or within Puri, but the world. The world was his mission. So he wrote a book in English called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts. So it had two parts, his life, which is a real quick gloss of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pastimes, his life, and then his teachings. So his teachings, I'm just going to share this, it's a nice detail, it's an important detail. Of the 100 books that Bhaktivinodha Thakur wrote, something like 80 of them had at least mentioned, if not a elaborate description, of the 10 essential teachings of Lord Chaitanya. He called it Dasa Mula Tattva. Dasa, we all know, means 10. Mula means root. Tattva means truths. The 10 essential teachings or truths taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it was not something he created. It was taken from a predecessor Acharya, Baladev Vidyabhusan. And Baladev Vidyabhusan was a Diksha disciple in the line of Madhvacharya. And Madhvacharya also wrote the Prameyas, the principal teachings of the Vedas. So in this book, that the Dasa Mula Tattva is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So, and he, at his own pocket, he paid for the printing of the book. And I have a copy of one of the books. It was offset printing, which means it wasn't square. Like the letters, they put it on a plate, and the plate pressed on the paper with some ink, and so the letters were all bumpy. It wasn't digital. It was offset press. But he was an innovator. I mean, along with pocket watches, he's a sadhu. 10 kids, pocket watch, and offset printing. Anything to expand the mission of Krishna consciousness. So he had that vision. He passed that vision on to Bhaktisiddhanta, who of course passed it on to you-know-who, Srila Prabhupada. But he's the root, or he's one of the roots. It wasn't his, it was Lord Chaitanya's idea. Pritiviti achayati yanagaradi gram. That the chanting of the holy name should be heard in every town and village, not just in India, but every town and village of the world. That was Lord Chaitanya's vision. It also became the vision of Bhaktivinodha Thakur, and then in turn his son and our founder Acharya. So there's legacy in what we're doing and how we got to where we are. And Bhaktivinodha Thakur is one of Bhaktivinodha Thakur is one of the key persons. In the latter portion of his life, one of his very important books is Jaiva Dharma. Jaiva Dharma is basically a rewrite, a retelling in his own creative way of 3 very important books, one of them being Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami. It's just his way of retelling what's in this very highly technical book. And the Dasamula Tattva and other primary teachings, just in a creative way. It's composed like a fiction, like one fellow goes to the Holy Dham and he's looking around and he finds some sadhus and he has some conversation with those sadhus and he asks questions of the sadhus and they give answers. It's a question-answer format, and but it's in a contemporary form, like modern India at that time, going to the Holy Dham of Sri Dham Mayapur in Navadvip and meeting a sadhu who answers all his questions. That's the format. And then the content is the retelling of the scripture. Here's the Babaji, and the Babaji is visited by these two students, and the two students take turns asking the Babaji questions, and the Babaji is a vastly learned person. Here's a copy of a reprint by his disciple, his son, Bhaktisiddhanta, of that same Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts by Bhaktivinodha Thakur, reprinted by his son. Now, you saw the date of his departure was 1914, and in one of the concluding books that he wrote, it was entitled Bhagavad Arka Marichimala. And at the addendum, at the end of Bhagavad Arka Marichimala, he makes a disclosure. The disclosure is, he writes, paraphrasing, normally would not disclose the following, but I feel compelled. Swarup Damodar appeared to me, not in a dream, but there's Bhaktivinoda on the left and there's Swarup Damodar on the right. He appeared to me and spoke to me. And he told me to write this book. He told me what the book should be. And he gave me a very beautiful explanation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's how the book came to be. So what Bhagavat Arka Marichimala is sloka sections by topic, then series of verses under this topic, next topic, a series of verses under the next topic. So he was fully conversant with the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. It was just a way of structuring a presentation on the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam by citing verses from the Bhagavatam. And then at the very, very beginning is Swarup Damodar's explanation of the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a brilliant literature. Some of you may not know who Swarup Damodar is, so I'll explain. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was living in Puri, many persons came to be with him. But of the many persons that came to be with him, and some would stay and some would come and go, two were with him constantly, and they're Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy. I already mentioned Ramananda Roy. At least I just touched on his name because he was residing and also giving teachings at Jagannath Ballabh Gardens. And Swarup Damodar was like his personal secretary. Personal secretary meaning he was constantly with him. So Swarup Damodar knew everything about his personal life. Because they were so close in association, he knew his heart, he knew his emotion, he knew his purposes, he knew everything. Swarup Damodar knew Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like himself. And Swarup Damodar kept a diary. And that diary later became one of the two main sources for Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the teachings and the ecstasies of Lord Chaitanya find their way in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but the source of it is Swarup Damodar. The same Swarup Damodar appeared, not in a dream, but he appeared before Bhaktivinodha Thakur and told him to write this book. Pretty amazing. Some eyebrows are going up. He's in another plane of Krishna consciousness, Bhaktivinodha Thakur. One of the other books he wrote was this book called Swalikita Jivani, which is just an autobiography of his life. And the photograph, it's an old style camera. He's seated with two younger fellows. And he describes in this autobiography something I'm just going to touch on because it's very important. One of Bhaktivinodha Thakur's fantastic contributions was discovering the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and here's how it happened. He was with these two young men. They were on a rooftop, and one evening from the rooftop he saw off at a distance a very tall, not like a skyscraper, but a tall, luminous building, effulgent, like a lighthouse and just glowing. And he showed them, and they saw it too. And then later, they saw it again, but there's no such building. It's, as you see from the photograph, it's just agricultural land and kind of jungly and no big tall buildings. So that prompted Bhaktivinodha Thakur, because of this access he had to government records, because he was a government employee, he could get access to things people didn't have. And he went to the government records and looked back and looked back and looked back and looked back. And he found that the current birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was at that time some like 400 years before, but the birthplace of Mahaprabhu was now 100 years old. So it's not the right place. So he found maps, because he had access to records, and he found that after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's departure, the course of the Ganges shifted. Sometimes rivers do that. And the place that was his birthplace became underwater. And then a couple hundred years later, the Ganges course shifted back again to where it was during the time of Mahaprabhu. And it's at that time that they established the birthplace on the western side. Listen carefully. Navadvip, which was during his time considered the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was on the western side of the Ganges. But according to scripture, the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the house of Jagannath Mishra and where he grew up and everything was on the eastern side. And where he saw this big effulgent light was on the eastern side. So he did some quick math, 2 + 2. The birthplace of that big luminous structure that rose in the air that doesn't exist, that's the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. So he followed where that just, got his compass out and followed the direction. And when he got there, it was all agricultural land, except there was one patch of land that wouldn't grow anything. It wouldn't grow rice, it wouldn't grow tomatoes, wouldn't even grow eggplants, wouldn't grow anything. It would only grow one thing, tulsi plants. He did some more math. That's the birthplace. So he wanted to confirm. So what he did to confirm was the Shiksha Guru, instructing Guru. This is a photograph of Jagannath Das Babaji. He lived to be 130-something years old, and by the time he was really old, he was really infirm. He couldn't walk, but he would constantly chant. He had to be carried in a basket. So he made a request for Jagannath Das Babaji to be carried across the river Jamuna in a basket to the place where only tulsi leaves or tulsi plants would grow. And Jagannath, it's a celebrated story, Jagannath Das Babaji jumped out of the basket and confirmed in however you say it in Bengali, this is it. So it then became established by Bhaktivinodha Thakur's prowess, spiritual acumen, and his other accesses to records and scripture and things. This is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being the fearless person that he is, or was, he went door to door in Navadvip asking every gentleman to give 1 rupee to build the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, please understand what that means. The people in Navadvip, their income was resting upon the mistaken understanding, purposeful or otherwise. The birthplace is over here. It's our money. And he's going to those people and asking for 1 rupee to build a place that's on the other side of the Ganges. He was risking his life. It's not light, it's real. And he wasn't harmed. And after some time, he built a little place. And the little place is that orange-colored or saffron-colored building that's in the back, and that big, tall, white one that's in the front is what he requested his son, Bhaktisiddhanta, to build, a more formal temple. Listen to this. As they were digging the foundation for that big white structure, now the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as they were digging down and digging down and digging down, they found an artifact. The artifact they found was the deity of Adhokshaja Vishnu that had been buried in the mud when the Ganges course shifted as the deity that was worshipped by his father, Jagannath Mishra. So that deity of Adhokshaja Vishnu is on the altar of that tall white building that you see there. That's the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a major, that's 4 majors, accomplishment. I mean, the birthplace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this age. And he established where it was at the risk of his life. But that's the kind of acharya he is. And the dome, this is an artist illustration of the Temple of Vedic Planetarium that was Prabhupada's edition that's just down the street from the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he wanted. And many devotees are giving their blood, sweat, and tears to make that happen. And it's underway. So another section is towards the end of his life, he established a place where he could consider his bhajan kutir. The name of it is Swananda Sukhada Kunj. You're going to see some photographs of the place. It's on the opposite side of the river from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace, one of the 9 islands, because Navadvipa means 9 islands. One of those 9 islands is Godruma Dweep. And he established a place. Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj visited him and has his bhajan kutir. This is from a song Bhaktivinodha Thakur wrote. My small cottage is shining beautifully within that most enchanting garden called Swananda Sukhada Kunj. Living there, I will sing Lord Krishna's holy name, and I will greedily hanker for that time when I'll get the service of him and his associates. So here's what the place looks like from the outside. That's the entrance gate. And you walk through the gate and you see this nice sign that's both English and Bengali, gives the name of the place. And then you walk through those little wooden doors and you'll see his samadhi. And there's a closer look of his samadhi at 4:15 p.m. There's a nice clock in the wall. And a personal servant that Bhaktivinodha Thakur kept with him, Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. So his samadhi is also there. And these are different deities of Gaur Gadadhar, different than the ones you saw in the dancing pose, but this is in his Swananda Sukhada Kunj. And they have the mudras of Gadadhar extending his hands in a mudra of giving mercy. Here's another photograph of the same deity. Lord Chaitanya is raising his hand, giving teachings, and Gadadhar is extending his palms and giving mercy. So Gaur Gadadhar deities. And this is the room where he stayed, kept nice and clean. Here's the bed where he would rest, and the writing table. This is his bed. He had a little fan, not electric. I don't know what it ran on, something. His bookcase, books that he actually used, and some personal belongings. And Bhaktisiddhanta also had a room where he would stay when he would visit his father. This is the desk that Bhaktisiddhanta would sit at when he would do his work. Here's the courtyard in front. And as you see on the right-hand side, there's some tulsi plants in a yellow-colored building. That's Gorkishore Das Babaji when he would come and he would engage in bhajan when visiting Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And again, the outside of the structure, and some nice lady doing some little service here. Pushpa Samadhis of Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and I don't know who the third one is. Sorry. This is a pretty fashionable chair that Bhaktisiddhanta would sit in. Never seen a chair like that before with long arms. And then the desk where he would sit, his walking stick. And in Jagannath Puri, maybe some of you have been to Jagannath Puri, towards the final stage of his life, Bhaktivinoda Thakur accepted Babaji, formal Babaji initiation, and where he spent so much time simply engaged in writing and bhajan and chanting. With very powerful personality. So ISKCON has a project that's Murtis of Prabhupada and Bhaktivinoda Thakur at that place. There's another incident showing his prowess and fearlessness. In Calcutta in 1908, 3 months before Bhaktivinoda Thakur accepted the renounced order, means Babaji, Sir William Duke, Chief Secretary of Bengal, admitted that he considered the Thakur's extraordinary abilities as district magistrate a threat to British control. I wanted to take you out of office. I thought that if there were many men as qualified as you in Bengal, then England would have to leave. So he had some bad ideas. And he came to apologize to Bhaktivinoda Thakur for that. He begged Thakur's forgiveness. Hearing William Duke's apology, the Thakur replied, I considered you to be a good friend and well-wisher all along. Later, Bhaktivinoda Thakur admits he was astonished. This man wanted to do him harm. But he was pleased that he was feeling regretful, repentant, and gave his blessings. So there's a nice photo of Sir William Duke. And when living in Puri during the final stages, during his Babaji period, this is another photograph, and his body is, diminished. But one of the celebrated teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that from the passing of Haridas Thakur, he reasons ill that says that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still and sound. The Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. And certainly that was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life, and he passed it on to his son, and his son passed it on to Srila Prabhupada, and I hope you have your catcher's mitt on. We're being passed on to us. We're to carry the legacy forward. It's a big legacy. We're little people. We're not Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Bhaktisiddhanta or great personalities, but collectively, the mission can move forward very strongly just by persons who are little but faithful, and together little faithful people can do a lot. Just be sincere and be clear about what the life and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are. Bring them inside and carry it forward. So I wanted to speak something, I circle back to where I started. Last week I felt a little conflicted. On the one hand, we've been speaking about the Holy Name, the whole festival of the Holy Name. So I wanted to continue, but I felt conflicted because I wasn't glorifying properly Bhaktivinodha Thakur. So a week later. And I thought it'd be a topic that you might all appreciate. Learn something about our disciplic succession and offer respects to one such great Acharya, Bhaktivinodha Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinodha Thakur ki jai. Let's see if there's some discussion.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Maharaj, we see that the Goswamis wrote so many books. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote hundreds of books. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote so many books. Srila Prabhupada wrote so many books. Why did they write so many books? It almost feels overwhelming for us.
Well, he liked to write. And he felt, as I said, at least educated people should know. But his heart was, some persons are cooks, some persons are dancers, some persons are managers, some persons take care of cows, some persons have businesses, and some persons are writers, and he was a writer. And he couldn't stop. and because the legacy would continue and does continue even after his physical absence, and he knew it. The printing press had just come, and he wanted to use it. He wanted to use the pocket watch, and he wanted to use whatever resources could help further the mission and the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he did that which was his gift. Yeah. Anything else? Yes? We want to carry the microphone? Do you have you don't need a microphone. Okay.
Maharaj, you said about the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching diminishes until Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj revived it. So what made it to diminish? Do we know?
Time.
Yeah.
Time destroys all things. Now, a prominent acharya can revive, but there weren't between, Narottam Das Thakur and other 5-6 generations after, there weren't prominent acharyas to revive. So in the absence of prominent, there was something going on, but it wasn't so prominent, and that was going on was deviated. Those two things. Time destroys. So he took up the opportunity or challenge and re-established the prominence. He was empowered to do it. And writing is one way.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You mentioned a few times about fearlessness in today's class, in the qualities of Srila Bhaktivinodha Thakur. So my question was, for being fearless, only faith is the main factor, or is there anything else that we need to look at?
Faith is essential, but something of a Kshatriya spirit. He wasn't a Kshatriya, he was a Brahmana, but he took up that which was needful because of that fearless spirit, and it was needful. So that's the second characteristic. Something is needed, and I'm maybe not the best person to do, but there's no, he sent other people he sent the police, but the police were afraid. So he wasn't afraid. He knew that he would be protected. And he was protected. The king wanted to kill him. The king wanted to kill him by Vedic sacrifice. Anyway, Kshatriya spirit. You do the right thing in the right way, and you stick with it, knowing that you will be protected. So that's another characteristic.
One who is not like Kshatriya by nature, for example, for him only the faith is the factor, or
No, you're asking the same question. You get the same answer. You did this today. You're getting the same answer. I'm not going to say it again. Anything else? Okay. Thank you all very much. We'll see you sometime when I come back. Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Can you all please be seated for another 5 minutes? Appreciate that. Parents, can you please? Hare Krishna Mataji, can you please take care of the children? 1 minute. Okay, please. Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to express the entire Naperville community's deep gratitude to His Holiness Rupada Swami Maharaj for the years and years of careful nurturing of this community. And this time in particular, Maharaj extended his stay here and gave us his wonderful association and guidance for the past two weeks. And every single thing Maharaj speaks is for our spiritual well-being. And I remain deeply indebted to Maharaj, and I want to express my deep gratitude. Thank you, Maharaj. So we have a few announcements, so I'm going to make it very quick. First, there is a group of young ladies or young children, girls, aged 11 through 13. They are known as Kishoris, Kishori Yatra. They are a group of children traveling in a bus under the care of adults. And they go all across the country visiting many temples. And they are known as Kishori Yatra. And they are coming here on 17th of this month. And they will be here from morning till evening. We are looking after their needs on that day. And they will be doing a performance after evening Aarti, which will be roughly around 6:30. And they are planning to give a performance on Bhagavad Gita. So I want to invite all of you to come here and give them your support. Kindly please mark your calendars and please come. Second thing is, our Yamuna Jivana Prabhu is offering ISKCON Disciples course. Last week I announced it, and this is an in-person course. And I again encourage all of you who have not taken to please contact him today, because today is the last day of registration. And in-person course is recommended by our GBC and all our higher authorities, and any seriously practicing devotee must attend this course. So please contact him today. Thank you, Yamuna Jivana Prabhu, for doing this. Thank you, Nityananda Prana Prabhu. I'm just seeing you. We have our children's Gita camp happening starting from next week. And the registration, the last date is today. Today? Yeah, registration is today, I'm saying. So you can get information from the information desk. So please, if you want to register your children, please do that today. The next thing is, today's Sunday feast sponsors are Sunday Mahabhoga sponsor. This is sponsorship for the whole day program by C.N. Krishna Swami and family seeking devotees' blessings. And is the family here? No, okay. And then Sunday feast sponsor is Dhanesh Tatikonda and family sponsoring Sunday feast in loving memory of Sri Ram Narsingha Tatikonda's death anniversary. The family is here. If you are here, please come and receive prasadam from Maharaj. No, they're not here. Okay. And we regularly offer special prayers in the name of these families to their lordships. So in addition to that, we always chant the holy names of Krishna on all memorable occasions. So kindly chant after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Two other additional messages. For going forward, any other week, you can contact Abhay Prabhu or Ramdas Prabhu for Sunday feast sponsorship. We have the Govindas operating here. There is a live counter happening on Saturday and Sunday. All the information is downstairs. We encourage all of you to come and support that. And Janmashtami is happening in the next month. Since we don't have much time to talk about it right now, Sumangala Mataji will be there downstairs. You can contact her near the reception desk and gather all the information that you need to from her. Appreciate all of your patience, and prasadam is served downstairs.
Of new people want to know what is Gita camp.
Gita camp is children's camp, and this is for children, young children up to age 13. And we choose a chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and through various PowerPoint presentations, interactive activities, crafts, arts, and many other, teaching bhajans and verses for 2 weeks. And we serve them also Krishna Prasadam, lunch, breakfast, dinner, everything. We look after them from morning till evening. And we have an amazing teacher. I think Sri Radhika is still here, and then Barsana Mataji and their entire team of teachers. So this is a very unique opportunity. So please find the information and do the registration.
Share in the community.
Yeah, please share it in the community so that we can get children from the extended community. Thank you.